So you're thinking about moving to Denver, Colorado, but you don't want to be in the thick of things and, the downtown, the big city. Well, you're in luck. Today I'm going to discuss a little bit about neighborhoods. This neighborhood that I'm standing in front of, it is Virginia Village. This is actually where I call home. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the neighborhood, some of the people that live here, some of the houses, and at the end, I'll show you what you could buy here. So if you're thinking hood a mile high, let's get started. Hey guys, it's Tim. I'm hanging out here in Virginia Village, and this is your first time to the channel. Make sure you are subscribed and you hit the little bell down below so you can be updated on all things Denver, Colorado. I get calls, I get texts, I get emails from people just like you all the time that are thinking about making the move to Denver, and I love helping them. Whether you're moving this month, this year, this decade, I can certainly help you. So without further ado, let's talk a little about where I call home, which is Virginia Village. It's a really, really great neighborhood. Like I said, I live here myself. I guess you could say that I put my money where my mouth is, or my money where my house is, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, the neighborhood itself, it covers just under 2 miles. It's about 40 blocks in range. The neighborhood dates back to the early 1950s, and through a bunch of annexations, it really kind of finished up in the early 70s. Since it was started, it has really, really experienced some rapid growth trends and all sorts of changes. There has actually been 140 different rezoning changes approved by the city of Denver, which is pretty astonishing to me. In 1973, over half the homes here were single-family units, but it's definitely ever-changing with the population growth in Denver. Unlike many other areas of Denver, this really hasn't seen the explosion of the skyrocketing prices and all of the 10 million offers coming in over the time it is on the market. There is certainly higher than normal pricing, but it's more of a mature community, and there's not a lot of activity in here really. A lot of the businesses in the area, they have turned in the last 4 or 5 years into more high density family housing. They have torn down businesses and farms and stuff like that, and they've turned them into condos, townhouse complexes, stuff like that. There's still obviously a lot of businesses here, but some have really downsized themselves or converted themselves completely over to multifamily properties, sold out to developers, stuff like that. In my opinion, really one of the best parts of the neighborhood, or really any neighborhood for that matter, is any park. In Virginia Village, there's parks everywhere. I mean, it seems like on every couple of corners you come across a park. Some of them have playgrounds, some have walking trails, some are just really nice for sitting and enjoying the weather. Traffic in the area, it's kind of low key. We have that kind of a small town vibe. There's a ton of four-way stops. We have somewhat avoided, other than, obviously the major streets, the stop lights. I mean, and again, the traffic in the area, the speed limits are generally between 25 and 35. So you're not getting a whole lot of accidents. It's really a safe neighborhood. Part of it is because it's so condensed. You get to really know your neighbors. And obviously there's rare exceptions, but you don't hear a lot of crime and, tons of accidents, stuff like that. You don't hear police sirens all day and all night, with obviously exceptions. There is a branch of the Denver Library actually in the neighborhood named after the area. I mean, you just saw me in the video before standing in front of it. There's also a branch of Arapahoe County Libraries. It's called Eloise May. You're in kind of a borderline between Arapahoe County and Denver County. It literally is one side of the street is Denver, the other side is Arapahoe. Well, again, go back to the library, the Arapahoe Library, Eloise May. It's really a kind of a cultural center for the Middle Eastern and Russian populations here in town. They have an entire section dedicated to Russian-speaking materials and a lot of English as second language classes for native Russian speakers here. I don't know, it's just really an immersive library at Eloise May. I go up there a lot with my kids. Alrighty, so anyway, without rambling on way too much about, a boring intro slide, let's look at a boring map, shall we? Neighborhood itself, it's surrounded to the west by Colorado Boulevard. Colorado Boulevard is one of Denver's busiest streets. It actually stretches all the way up to I-70 and goes way down south, kind of ends at 285 south of town. But either way, Southwestern border of it is just along I-25. It kind of extends to Iliff, and then on the south side, and Cherry Creek is kind of on the northeast side, Cherry Creek Drive. You're super close to Parker Road. Parker Road is a huge, long road. It extends all the way down to the Springs. It kind of starts right here in this hood, but as you see on the bottom of the map, there's pretty decent sized industrial area along Colorado Boulevard. All sorts of businesses all up and down there. I'll touch on that a little bit later when we talk about what to do in the area, but just to see it. As I said earlier, one of the best parts of any neighborhood is the park. Virginia Village is definitely not unforgiven in this, or I guess Virginia Village is definitely a place that has home to a really great park. Cook Park is one of my favorite parks. There's a rec center there. It's the Cook Park Recreation Center. There's a couple ball fields. There's a big playground there. This is kind of its own little subdivision inside of the neighborhood. If that makes any sense to you, it does in my head, but if not, let me know. It's just a really clean park, and it's kind of the community center for really the whole neighborhood. The police department has all of their national nights out there. There is, neighborhood 4th of July parties right there. I mean, it's just really cool. It's also the closest voting spot. You could drop off your mail-in ballots every 2 years here. They have ballot boxes out all the time, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, I just think it's a really great place to do there. I used to work out there. At the time, it was like $200 a year for residents. I think it has gone up from there, but I can definitely check it out to get you today's current numbers on how much it is to belong to the rec center. But, it's just something it's good to have the neighborhood. Along Holly, which kind of cuts halfway through the neighborhood here, it's really a quaint little place for stores and shops and restaurants. There's a super cute little coffee shop there. It's called Sojourners. It's kind of a favorite family spot of mine. When they're in town from out of town, we kind of stop at Sojourners and hang out there for a little while. Also, any good neighborhood needs a good hardware store. There is an Ace Hardware store right on Holly in Florida. It is top notch. The guys there and girls there, they can tell you how to install, uninstall. They give you that free tips like a local hardware store can do, which I think is really cool. As I said, Colorado Boulevard, it's just a major thoroughfare to get really all over Denver proper. With that comes a ton of bus lines that take you east to west, and all sorts of connecting lines that get you out of the area. You can take it to one of the major streets that'll take you to another major street, or, hop on the light rail, which is also just in town here. It's actually, the station here is one of the busier and the bigger ones in town. It takes you really almost anywhere. There's a lot of transferring that goes there. It goes really anywhere the light rail goes. You can go directly there from the Colorado station. You can transfer at one or the other and get all the way to the airport, which is relatively new in the last 4 or 5 years, the train to the plane. It's really just being all about the middle of everywhere without really being in a big city. So now we've talked about where we're at. Let's talk about the people who are here. There are just less than 15,000 people who live here, and they live in all sorts of apartment complexes, smaller ranch homes, townhouses, condos. There's a few of the pretty large homes around here. I would definitely call this area more of a middle to upper class area. There's not a gigantic mansion that are around this area as much as there is. But, there's certainly beautiful, well cared for homes. It's really a lot of pride and ownership type homes around here. The residents here, they work hard for their homes. They take care of their homes and especially their neighborhoods. I mean, it's not uncommon at all to see people out picking up trash in the neighborhood as a group of people, just something doing a nice Saturday afternoon. Average age is just under 39. It's a little bit older than Denver's average. Denver's average is right at 35. Of all the adults in the area, about a third of them have degrees, and household incomes earn about 80 grand a year on average. The commute time, it's super reasonable from here. It's about 11 minutes, especially given its proximity to the tech center in downtown Denver. Like I said, I mean, my theory, smack dab in the middle of everything. There are fewer families in this area, actually, present company excluded, of course. There's fewer children in the area than other areas I've been researching. It's a mature area, both from the age perspective and really people's lifestyles. A lot of the townhouse communities, the average age in those are 60s or so. It's just something that these people moved into, and that's their forever home now. Home values, at least in this neighborhood, are
interesting thing. Like I said, we haven't really experienced that explosion like some of the other areas of town, but they're, we definitely have home values higher than they used to be. Of course, the average home value, as you can see, is just 421 grand or so. It's below the average for the city, but quite frankly, there's just really not a whole lot of comparable houses because so many of them are so different. What I mean by that, I mean, there's a street. Let's call it. Let's say it is actual street. It's Virginia. There are really larger homes there with finished basements that have 4 more bedrooms, but it's literally next door to kind of a 2 bed 1 bath bungalow, and then you take into consideration all the multifamily complexes, townhouses, condos. It kind of skews those numbers even more. A lot of those complexes were built within the last 5 to 10 years, and then there was another explosion back in the late 70s, early 80s. So those are aging. So obviously, factor in the HOA's dues are higher, which kind of skews the house pricing a little bit because if you're going to pay $400 a month in an HOA bill, you might not want to pay, $2,000 a month in your mortgage bill. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, and home values are always kind of hard to pinpoint anyways. Either way, I guess it's just a really long way of saying average home value is 421,000. Over the last few years, there's been a couple of different apartment complexes built, but there was some of these apartment buildings that seemed like they'd been here before the city was here. So it put the average rent at right around $1,400 a month. The average rent for the Denver area is much higher than that, but the national average is $1,350. So you're right on track with national average staying here in Virginia Village. Again, in these apartments, a lot of them are 1 bed, 1 bathroom places. There's a few scattered around in each complex with 2 or 3 bedrooms or 2 or 3 baths. That escalates the price pretty drastically, actually. There's not a whole lot of detached homes for rent around here. Very few that I know of, at least. Some of the condos and townhouses are rented out, but the HOAs kind of have final say in some of these just because of the way the documents were written when they were written in the early 80s. So now we talked a little bit about the people who live here and the houses that are part of this part of Denver. You kind of get a little bit more of an understanding about the neighborhood. Like I said, it's a fantastic place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. I do. It's literally in the middle of everything. You don't have one of the great things is you really don't have an hour plus drive to get to the airport or like a 45-minute commute to downtown with traffic and everything. When I have people come in from the airport, I pretty much tell them they can call me as soon as they land and I head out, because then I jump on 225. I'm right at the airport and within 20, 25 minutes or so. And then by that time, they're getting right out of the airport. So I don't know. I just think it's a great place to live, that you don't hear the airplanes, but you don't, have to drive an hour to get to them. So real quick, it's on the next slide here, talk about what to do here. If you're going to stay close to home in the night, you got to find something to do. Well, you're in great shape here because there's all sorts of fun things to do. I'm just going to pinpoint a few of them. There is a growing little entertainment district. It's centered around Dave & Buster's. There's an IMAX theater there. There's the Dave & Buster's. Obviously, it's the giant Dave & Buster's. At Dave & Buster's, you can game the night away or see any movie. I think there's 16 theaters inside of the IMAX theater right here. If you really don't want like the chain restaurants or pay the price to see a movie, because I don't, there's really a brand new kind of cafeteria-like place. Like, it's a cafeteria / food court. It's called the Junction Eatery. There's a few of them that have popped up around town over the few years. This is, I think, the newest. They have all sorts of like pop-up restaurants or like food truck type diner places, and they're all kind of in one space. You can go to any one of these little eateries that pop up, and then there's a common dining area to sit in. I just had my first time there. I had a little place. It was called Pizza Pie. It was a really, homemade dough pizza place. It was really, really good. It's just a really growing place, and the restaurants there are kind of coming and going all the time because you don't have to set up a kitchen. It's set up and you just use it. If you were wanting something to do to get in shape, let's get physical. You can't go wrong with Virginia Village. Colorado is really considered one of the healthiest states in the country, and quite honestly, I think it's because there's so many options for gyms. Just in this little part of town, there is a brand new Choose Fitness, a newer Planet Fitness. There's a 24-hour fitness. There's also a bunch of like smaller locally owned gyms. And then the rec centers, there's 2 or 3 rec centers, like I said, in the subdivisions within the neighborhoods. And also most of the apartments and townhouses and condo communities, they kind of have their own little on-site workout areas. So it's not for lack of places to go to work out. It's, you know, I guess it's actually going, which makes you not work out or not be in shape. I know that all too well, I guess. But anyway, Planet Fitness and Choose Fitness, they're kind of lauded on all the review sites for their plans. They start at $9.99 a month. Google and Yelp also both comment on the equipment being in very, very good shape. But they're somewhat critical of the staff at these places. I mean, the gyms themselves, they're really nothing fancy. There's just machines and free weights and treadmills and ellipticals and stuff like that. There's not like personal trainers. They're just younger people manning the front desks, and you get what you pay for, I guess, and you pay $10 a month. It's just a good place to join for just more of a basic workout. So now we have worked off the calories. Let's add some. Breakfast Inn is really a really good little diner right off of Iliff in just by Monaco, let's say. It used to be called Breakfast Inn Dinner too, but I guess the dinner got a little too much for this restaurant. I mean, it's tiny and the staff has worked there forever, so whatever. It's just a really good place to sit and enjoy your morning, kind of sipping coffee. They have really fantastic biscuits and gravy. Funny story, there's a few mechanics around, just right shops within walking distance of the restaurant there. And when I've had my car worked on, it almost every one of them, they all mention to go and get your, oh, why don't you go and check out Breakfast Inn while you're waiting for your car to be done. I don't know if they have a, symbiotic relationship or what, but it's just kind of it's a testament to the place. The mechanics are telling you to go there while your car's getting fixed. They open up super early at 5 a.m. So, early bird gets the freshest worms, I guess. Google reviews, I kind of just want to touch on those all the time. They note that the service is top notch and it's really a nice spot for a breakfast date, which I guess is a thing now. I don't know. Yelpers, they're somewhat critical of the hours. It's only open till 2. So if you want to get in, you got to get in before 2. People want to open a little bit later, I guess, the breakfast for dinner crowd. It's just a really good place to have like a home style breakfast, whether you're dining in or grabbing a handheld burrito to go or having a breakfast date there. I guess whatever it is, lunchtime comes. Now you're hankering for, just a deli. Well, you're in luck here. Zadie's Deli. They actually just opened right up the road at Holly and Leedsdale. It is technically considered a Jewish bakery. And actually, they bake all of their own bagels and bread in-house every day. I can tell you firsthand, it smells amazing if you drive by like early. Like you could smell the fresh bakery coming right out of the bread. It used to be, Zadie's used to be in like the heart of Cherry Creek, right down the road. But they closed up shop there and moved to Virginia Village a few years back. I think they did it because of parking, and I'm sure rent has skyrocketed in the Cherry Creek area. So they kind of bought out an older restaurant and moved there, like I said, not too long ago. It's a little pricey. It's packed at lunchtime. I mean, it's packed all the time, but really it's packed at lunchtime. You kind of get that price of the ambiance and the experience. It's a really, really great experience. It's widely known, actually, for smoking their salmon in-house daily as well. I cannot smell that from the street, so that, in my opinion, is a good thing. The 4.4 rating on Google, it also mentions some of the more unique dishes. They have a Reuben omelet, which sounds fantastic, and I will get that next time I'm there for breakfast. Yelp has a little bit of a lower rating. They rated it a 4. Comments are pretty similar, though. They're just, a lot of Yelpers are critical of the new location. They don't like having to drive out of Cherry Creek to come to the new Zadie's. They're also not as accommodating at this location to larger groups. I think it's because they want to have more turnover instead of, the same people sitting there on the same table for 2 hours. But I don't know, quite honestly. I'm not in the restaurant business to tell you that. I think that since they've moved, it's really much easier to kind of get in and out of. It's so much easier to park at. It's just a must try place when you're in Denver if you're looking for a good bakery. All right, so now we've had breakfast, we've had lunch, we've walked around Cook Park, checked out the Botanic Gardens, which are actually really close, right down the street. Now it's dinner time. Your stomach is growling. There is a delightful Italian joint right in on Parker Road, or I guess it's called Leetsdale there. Parker Road changes names right in the middle of this hood, known as Italian Bistro. It's sure to satisfy all of your Italian cravings and fix that growling stomach. It was established in 1978, and back then there was hardly really anything this part of Denver outside of downtown. I mean, it's really a go-to for the locals, especially the locals who have been here for a long time. They On Wednesday night they have Wine Down Wednesdays, where all of the bottles of wine are half price, and every now and again, actually, there is authentic Italian singers walking around the tables and kind of singing to the tables. It's I don't know. I mean, I would liken it to like a mariachi band, but it's just kind of cool. There are there are crab cakes on the menu that are fresh and super good. There is also calamari entrees. I like the homemade lasagna or veal Vesuvio, which is kind of a Chicago tradition. They also have a very wide array of pizzas. If you can't really decide on an entree, you can't go wrong with the pizza. I can promise you will not be disappointed if you finish off dinner with a toffee molten lava cake or tiramisu, which is you can't go wrong with it. Part of the secret to this place, the chef has been here for them for like 20 something years, and he's really a master at preparing fresh Italian cuisine. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's they have a sommelier on staff too, which is also really cool. They can kind of teach you a nice pairing for things, and they also educate each and every server on what pairs nicely with what. So it's kind of a unique thing where all of the servers are trained firsthand by a sommelier. And again, the wine, you can get it by the glass, but you might not buy the bottle. It's a beautiful night out in Denver, Colorado. So it's kind of a special occasion type of place, at least for me. It's kind of a birthday or promotion or definitely a date night. I say that because it's a little pricey. I mean, it's not, take out a second mortgage by any means, but I say that also as having just dropped off my daughter's daycare, and my wife is only a second grade teacher, so we're not swimming in dough. Nona's, they have a solid 4.4 rating on Google. Almost all of the reviews on there mention these fresh stuffed mushrooms. I have had them. I can tell you they are fantastic. Yelp reviews, they're a little bit lower for Yelp is always more critical, especially of restaurants. I don't know why. I have nothing to mention of it. But speaking of reviews, what I think is cool about Nona's is their ownership team replies to actually every one of reviews on social media, Google, Yelp. They even reply to the Facebook ones. It's kind of cool. I guess if you're all about neighborhood involvement like that, that's key to staying in business for 50 plus years. There's another location known as, it's just, 6-7 miles south of here in Centennial. Personally, this one is a far superior dining experience. I think it's because it's just such a neighborhood staple. So, and if you could stay in town and not have to worry about anything, it's just so much more the better. Alrighty, so now we've had a great breakfast, a smaller lunch at the deli. We've stuffed ourselves with all the tasty Italian. Wouldn't hurt to have a nightcap at Esther's. Esther's is a perfect neighborhood bar. I mean, it's literally just snuggled right in the thick of the village. It's kind of in a strip mall that doesn't have really anything else in it. And it's just right there. I mean, there's houses pretty much on either side of it. It's just really cool place. I'd probably be stuffed after all the other places, but the other place, when you're at Esther's too, try and hit up the brunch. On Saturdays and Sundays, they have a really great brunch. They, they have both indoor and outdoor seating for your brunch, and they also have bottomless mimosas and a build your own Bloody Mary bar. At this, that's obviously a brunch staple. At Esther's, though, they kind of have a different take on it. They just fill up your glass with champagne, and then they invite you up to the juice bar, and you can get anything you want. I mean, you can get freshly squeezed juices, everything from traditional orange juice for like a classic mimosa, but I've had papaya juice there. I've had guava. I've had pineapple mimosas. It's the staff. They're also really helpful when it comes to talking about local beers, and they also carry a wide array of local spirits. Actually, I had a server there a few years back. I asked outside of the brunch menu what was a good thing, and he told me about the Stranahan's nachos. I've not looked back since then. I don't think I've been there where I have not had these Stranahan's nachos. Stranahan's, if you don't know, it's a whiskey distillery. It's actually just outside of downtown Denver. And it's a really, really rich, kind of unique taste of a whiskey. And, once you've had it, it's instantly recognizable. Well, they marinate all of their pork in Stranahan's whiskey. So you can definitely taste the whiskey in the pork, and then they top it off with a 4-cheese queso and, all of the classic nacho toppings, jalapenos and stuff like that. They also do a breakfast version of this where they add an egg to it. It's kind of a cool twist, but, whatever. It's definitely not a pricey place by any means. It's super welcoming for families. My own family, when they come to town, we definitely hit up brunch either Saturday or Sunday if they're in for a weekend. It's a cool place. Google reviews, they have Esther's at a 4.5. Yelpers have it at a 4.4. Almost all of the positive reviews mention either the pizza, which they make in-house. It's kind of their specialty. And they also kind of talk about the bar selection. It's a neighborhood bar, and they have neighborhood spirits and neighborhood treats. And like I said, I just make a point to take my family there. It's welcoming and kind of just reminds you of just your neighborhood pub. Just a quick mention of the shopping in Virginia Village. The fact that you're so close to Colorado Boulevard, it's great. Right across Colorado Boulevard, there is a Nordstrom Rack, a Safeway, a Best Buy, a Ross. I mean, they're really within walking distance, quite honestly. If you drive a bit, there's Cherry Creek Mall is super close by. And, obviously there's the standard Target and Walmart and King Soopers, which is a Kroger offshoot if you didn't know, and just other usual places. There is a Goodwill and an ARC thrift store, ARC thrift store. I don't know if you call it ARC or ARC. I've heard of both. They're really, really cool places. Obviously, everybody knows Goodwill, but it's just a great place. ARC is a great place. They focus more on the development disabled. It's a good place to donate or, get things on the cheap. I mean, I think it's a good place. If you don't know if you're going to like skiing when you're new to town, don't buy all sorts of clothing and equipment at, the ski shops. Go and find some used stuff at ARC or Goodwill. It's available almost year round. I mean, if you go during summer, obviously you're going to have more. And it's actually really in decent shape. I mean, most of the stuff there is slightly used, if I can use that term. Again, I would love to say Virginia Village is a shopper's dream, but it's just not like some of the other areas in town. It's close to them as far as proximity, because, again, we're in the middle of everything, but it's just not like, shopper's paradise by any means. Alrighty, so now let's go a little bit. I always like to talk about what is, where are the best hospitals, police stations, fire departments are. I mean, it's always good to know. The nearest hospital is Rose Hospital. It's actually just on Colorado Boulevard. It's run by the Health One Care system. It kind of sprawls across like 4 or 5 city blocks. It's been revamped in the last few years. Labor and delivery, I know quite a few people who have had their children there. Their surgery center actually houses some of the top surgeons in town. Rose, they specialize in all sorts of things. I personally know of their emergency room and their PT department. Cardiology department, I had a neighbor go there not too long ago just to be treated, and she was treated great. Police departments, Virginia Village, it's part of District 3 of the Denver Police Department. That station is just outside of the neighborhood, right on University. Actually, I guess you could just call it a substation, but that's pretty much a police station as far as I'm concerned. Out of there, there's a neighborhood resource officer. He has his office here, and you really don't see him in his office because he's always out in the neighborhood, kind of walking around, showing communities what they are doing well or what they could do better for safety-wise. He's talking to business owners and business managers about different things in town. He's rarely in the station, but just a great guy all around. They really focus on their community policing out of here. Nearest fire station, it's Fire Station 24. It's right on Boulevard. It's right there. You can't miss it. So, again, like everything else, because you're close to everything, you will assuredly be safe here no matter what happens. Alrighty, so now let's do a little bit of talk on, schools and churches in the area. Learning and praying, I guess. McMean is the elementary school. It's kind of the every small town in America elementary school. It sits right next to Cook Park. It's surrounded by all sorts of brick single-family homes. There's actually a playground here that's open to the neighborhood after school hours. well over half the school kids walk there. It's probably less than 2 blocks for almost all of them to walk there. I drive by there almost every morning, and there's really not a lot of traffic at like drop off and pick up like you would see at a lot of bigger, regional schools. If that makes sense to you, it does to me. There's just a lot of kids walking to and from home. Niche.com, I'm getting this information from. They report that McMean has an A plus for diversity, and it ranks at number 32 of 1,100 schools for diversity. So they kind of base those rankings on different algorithms, and they interview current and former students, families, staff. They kind of get to that trusted school rating from that. And Niche is a standard for checking out really any school and rating systems, anything from preschool to PhD programs. They rate on different scales, and it's very, very trusted how they rate things. So I'm not going to judge it by any means. Placebridge Academy, that is a really unique school. It actually sits on a gigantic campus just south of the neighborhood here. They are a magnet school for refugee students. What's really cool with these students is, especially after they have a lot of upheaval in their young lives, Placebridge ensures that whenever they come into the school, that they will remain there. So it's not, you're going to switch schools after this and, after this grade and that grade and, go to here. I don't know. It just gives these kids a lot of consistency, and they come from all over the Denver area. Actually, other than the United States, there's over 60 countries represented here at Placebridge. 40 different languages are spoken here, and dialects are recognized here at Placebridge. Really, hardly any of the kids that are going to school here come from English-speaking homes. And the school has really a special program to make sure that they both learn English, but they also teach in their native language simultaneously. So it kind of makes sure they learn in their language while they're learning English, kind of rounds it all out. Like I said, it's a magnet school, so every corner of the city is represented here, and it's just a great immersive school and culture community. I mean, a lot of the staff has purchased homes in the area, and the school itself is trying to develop an area for their staff to live on campus because of the affordability of housing and because they're just so dedicated to the school. So while it's not technically a school, there's the Virginia Village Library. It's part of the public library system. You saw me standing out the side of there a little bit ago. I love the library system all over Denver. I actually take my daughters to this and the Arapahoe County Libraries often for story time. Virginia Village branch here sticks out to me as super family friendly. They have the story times. They're always really engaging, entertaining. It serves the community super proud. That's why I decided to start this video there. Churches in the area, they're fairly typical. There's the Catholic Church. There's a Lutheran one. A couple other Christian churches. All of these, they're well attended, and they have all sorts of community events, outreach programs. So it's not technically in the neighborhood. The Denver Muslim Center, it's just off of Parker Road, just to the southeast of this hood. Man, oh man, this place is packed all night, all day. It really serves the entire population of the Denver Muslim community. And it's actually so well known and so well attended. A lot of the businesses in the area, they kind of adjusted their menus for the center's visitors. The Blackjack Pizza, for example, right across the street, they have halal pepperoni. Chinese restaurant opened up in the last month or so. It's actually called Hunan Halal. If you're not familiar, halal is the Arabic word. It's translated to permissible. Going back to the Quran, it's actually the exact contrast to haram, which sets up the 5 decisions to the Muslim faith: mandatory, recommended, neutral, reprehensible, and forbidden. Sorry, squirrel! Just read about it not too long ago. Muslim Center, it's just an epicenter of faith, and there are really, really a lot of great people who are always there. I mean, it's always packed, like I said earlier. Alrighty, so last but not least, let's take a look at the houses that are for sale around here. All of this data I pulled as of December 1st, 2022. It has surely changed right after I pulled it, and definitely by the time I filmed myself. Current listings, they change by the hour around here like they do everywhere. All of the sold listings, I'm going back 365 days, so December 1st of 2021. If you want current data, shoot me a text, give me a call. I'm kind of a numbers nerd, so I like if somebody wants them because I can pull them to the minute. So if I look at these numbers, it kind of tells a story about the people who live here and what's important to them and really their housing situation. Leading off, I broke it down 1 bedroom, 1 bath places. they're somewhat limited, to put it mildly, I guess. When they built this neighborhood, they just didn't build many of them like they built them in other parts of the city. There's right now only one actively listed, none are pending, and only 3 have sold in the last 12 months. One that is active is actually a teeny tiny little 634 square foot home. Kind of almost feels like a studio apartment if you've been inside of it. I showed it a while ago. Listing prices for 1 bedroom, 1 bath over the last year or so, they kind of range from $200,000 to $270,000, right? Average of $227 grand. Batting second is 2 bedrooms, 1 bath houses. They're also in short supply, same as the ones. There just weren't that many built. There are not any active or pending, and only 7 have sold last year. What's interesting to me is they're really not that much bigger than the 1 bedroom, 1 bath at just over 1,100 square feet. These homes, they closed a little bit higher, 4% over asking price, just over $500,000. So rounding out the top of the order, I guess you could call it, 2 bedrooms, 2 bath. They're also very, very similar to 2-1s. Actually, what sticks out, if I'm looking at these, is the average close price is actually lower than the houses with only 1 bath. They still close at over 8% over the asking price, but the closing price is just a little bit lower. Price per square foot, it's $420, which is pretty normal for the Denver metro area. Finally, when you're batting cleanup, I'm going to look at the big houses, 3 more bedrooms, 2 more bathrooms. Right now, there are 9 of them on the market, 7 of them under contract, and 86 have sold within the last year. Like I said, this is what the majority of them are built for. There is, if I'm looking at it real quick now, there's $500,000 difference between the lowest price listing and the most expensive listing. So, there's just a huge spread, and part of that is due to HOAs and different types of home, whether it be townhouses versus single-family homes. On average, though, they are twice the size of the other ones. So, you're getting a lot more space. They all sat on the market for just about 20 days. Not really surprising when you get such a range in price points that they're going to sit a little bit longer. Compared to the rest of the state, I'm going to do this real quick. Virginia Village, they all have 1 more bedroom than the state average. On average, the state has 3 bed, 3 bath. Around here, it's 4 bed, 3 bath. They sell for a higher percentage closing to list price, though. That's a lot of reasons, I'm sure. My guess is it's kind of a combination of the central location and actually that not as aggressive. Just as a realtor, I would say the seller's agents here are a little bit better at pricing homes. They price them a little bit more conservative, which leads to multiple offers. A lot of other areas of town, or the state especially, they price it above average, hoping that they'll get there, where here they price a little more conservative to get to a good value. I've used the strategy myself, and it works. I've used the other one, and it works as well. So, I don't know. Either way, it all lines up nicely. And
Alrighty, well, that's all I got from here at Virginia Village. And if you want to keep following about the neighborhoods or anything about Denver, Colorado, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe, send me an email, shoot me a text, or better yet, give me a call. I'll sure be the one who answers. And as always, if you're thinking about Denver, Colorado, make sure you let me know, because I will make sure you